Hey friends out there in YouTube land and the internet, I'm Robert Ham with schoolofuke.rocks. Today I'm going to share with you 4 great chords to play on your ukulele for your first lesson. And these are the 4 chords I like to go over, plus a couple of great basics on how to tune, and just other pro tips to get you started on the right path. So come on, let's have a good time. Let's actually get tuned up real nice first. Lots of times your ukulele will come with a nice little chromatic tuner, and that's pretty cool. Most of them will have 5 different kinds of voicings that it can tune for. Make sure yours is set to ukulele, okay? Now, when you do that, you're going to turn it on and just pop it a couple times until you see ukulele pop up in the actual screen, and then you're going to have something to look for. When your chord is actually, or your string is actually in tune, you will see it light up nice and green, or you'll see that little line stay towards the center line, and that's what you would like. When you pluck the string, make sure you do so with a nice, solid, dedicated movement, just straight down. Careful not to hum it up and get your thumb stuck in there, otherwise you'll degrade the ability of the tuner to actually tell the note apart. It won't sound so good. When you do tune, it's good to tune up into the note, and this is what I mean. This is our properly tuned G sound, right? This is our open G chord, or string, excuse me. Now this is a G that's not tuned properly, okay? Now that will show that the actual G is less than tuned. It's a flat pitch. It's not properly pitched. Before G we have F, so it's probably in the F sharp range right now. Your chromatic tuner will actually tell you what note it is. And what you're going to want to do is tune up. And you always want to tune up into the note because you want to stretch the string into the note. You don't want to stretch past the string so you've made the string longer and then tune down into the note. That tends to allow your tuning to go flat more often. And we want to tune very slowly, and once we get it up there in the proper tuning, we'll see that it lines up nicely. Now, here you go. If you don't have a tuner with you, that's fine. This is G. This is C. This is E. And this is A. Very good. So you can tune towards that. There's one other thing about tuning I'd like to help you with, and that is to make sure that your ukulele is in unison with itself. Now this is something that lots of people don't really do or don't talk about very often, and that's because, well, I don't really know why. It's something that I like to do and share with everybody. Ukes can get that characteristically like out of tone squeaky sound, and that comes because when you have an ukulele that's not individually voiced, which means isn't handcrafted for its own voicing based on its own best decisions from the luthier when they're making it, most ukuleles, like this one, are mass-produced, and that means that the frets are just drawn out on thousands of fretboards at a time and cut on thousands of fretboard machines at a time, and the frets are laid. And that means that there could be small inconsistencies. So the way to get around that is to tune your uk to your highest sounding string when it's naturally played open, which is A. So there's A. Now all we have to do to make sure that the uk is tuned to itself is to actually tune it to its other A positions on our other strings, and we can do it by finding the A on each string. I'm going to go ahead and share that with you right now. Here is A on the G string. It's the 2nd fret of your top string. Notice, sounds good. It sounds like it's in unison. Pluck both strings at the same time with similar force and evaluate. Very good. Now, our C string, we've got to come up here for our A, right? Okay, and we're at 5, 7, 8. So the 8th fret on our C string is our A. Now, let's go to our E. It's our 5th fret on our E string. Very good. Now your ukulele is in unison with itself. It's important to know here that if you play with an ensemble and others, that just means playing in a group, your ukulele may be voiced to itself when tuned this way, but not to other players. So you always want to tune to one instrument that you're playing with in an ensemble. That way everyone is on the same tuning. Otherwise, this works great for when you're at the house, making sure that your ukulele doesn't get that whiny sound. Nobody really likes that. Okay, let's move right along to it. We're going to talk about the C chord. I want to share with you, this is our C string. This is our C chord. Chords are made up out of 3 notes or more, and ukulele has the ability to make a total of 4 notes or less when being played because it has 4 strings. Without going into too much of the theory, here's why it's a C chord. It's because our C string, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, okay? We're actually playing a C note, and that was our do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. There you go. So there's C. I like to play C with the 2nd or 3rd finger. My ring finger is my preference because C, 3rd fret of the A string being pressed down. There's your C chord. Now, if your C chord sounds something like this, it may be because you're not pressing the fret very close to the center or closer to the fret that you're playing. We're on the 3rd fret, so we want to be, I've got big fat fingers, so when I press the fret, I press it nice and firmly right in the center, in between the fret that I want it to be, which is the 3rd, and the 2nd one is the fret right in the center. You don't put it on the fret, that leads to this, okay? So here we go, again C, played with the ring finger. Now, the reason I like to play C with the ring finger is because it allows me to play the A minor chord with my middle finger. Now check that out. A minor is only 1 finger down as well, just like C, except A minor is a different chord, which means a different string. Here, we're going to place our middle finger on the 2nd fret of our G string. There we go, there's our A minor. Okay? So let's go C to A minor. Now I'm playing these by plucking each string at once, but you could pull them off or strum, whichever you prefer. Now this gives us a second to talk for one real quick moment about positioning of the uk. Lots of times a beginner will allow the bottom of the uk to bow forward so that the sound hole is facing up so that we can see where our fingers are going. We want to try to avoid that as much as possible. Maybe it's okay for the first couple days, but try not to do that. Later on, when you try to move your wrist up and down the neck for bar chords, you're going to have a very difficult time. Let's go ahead and kick and make sure that we pull the bottom bout, the lower bout of the ukulele, into our body. Right now, I'm going to talk to you about how you can hold the uk with the lower part of your elbow. I'm a big guy, this is simple. Some people may feel like they're up here, but try to get your hand so that your elbow is in line with the string in the fretboard, because this will allow you to be able to use your elbow later on when strumming, or to use your wrist, just depending on how you need. Right now, it will also position your hand about halfway up the neck between the string, between the nut and the saddle, and that's going to give you the best tone when you're playing. If you play down here, notice you get a different hammer kind of feel. The string has different intonations or different sounds or color to the music, or the note is being played where you play on the uk. Anyway, the biggest reason that we talked about hand position is because it will become important when we're moving to our F chord. Our F chord is our middle finger on the 2nd fret of the G string. And that's right, that's our A. Our A minor. We just did that. Our F is going to add the index finger to the 1st fret of our 3rd string, which is our E. And remember, between E and F, there are no semitones, so E, F, just like in our chord G, A, B, C, when we were doing our scale earlier. So once again, middle finger, 2nd fret of your G string, 1st finger, 1st fret of your E string. And we now have the chord of F. Sounds nice. Remember, you want to keep your fingers playing arched. We don't want to put the flats of our fingers down, and this will be difficult to start with, so it might not have sounded like that. Yours might have sounded like this. That's totally cool. Don't worry about it. Mine sounded just like that too. The point is, we need our fingers up on the fingertips. And because of that, I don't usually allow my fingers to get fingernails that grow much more than 1/8 of an inch. I usually keep them trimmed pretty decently. Ladies, you'll have to do the same too, or else figure out how to play without that fingernail getting in the way of the actual tone of the chord. Anyway, try to play on your fingertips, and you'll be a happy camper. Let's go to G. G is here. G is a beautiful little chord. I like G. G, we're going to add another finger. Now we're using 3 fingers. This is the most difficult chord of all, but I think it looks kind of like a diamond. And that makes it easy to remember. And also, G is going to give us some color chords later because we can switch between G, G7. In fact, all of these do, but that's a different lesson. Let's go ahead and get back to G. G is actually going to use the bottom 3 strings, our G, our C, E, and A strings. We're going to take our index finger and put it on the 2nd fret of our C string, which is this one right here. It's the 2nd one from the top. We're going to take our middle finger and put it on the 2nd fret of our A string. That's the 4th from the top. So right now we have our G string with no finger, our C string, which has our index at the 2nd fret, our E string, which has no finger, and our A string, which has our ring finger on the index, or our index finger on the 2nd fret. And now we're going to take our ring finger and we're going to reach over to the E string, and we're going to put our ring finger on the 3rd fret of the E string. Now we have G. Okay? Really nice little chord, a little bit more tough to play, and another reason that you really have to be on the tips of your fingers rather than the flats. If you're on the flats, we just want to rock them forward. Again, if we have our ukulele with the lower bow up, the sound hole facing up, then we're going to have our hand in a position where the meaty part of our hand kind of gets in the way of our A, and it's just kind of nasty. So we're just going to practice that. So once again, C, A minor, F, and G. That's it.